Good morning and welcome to another week with Pete. Just finished the morning jog. It's here at the local park. Just behind me we have the referee room. Could definitely deal with one of them at home, but that's another story. Today we're going to be chatting about the difference between an asset and a liability. And if I was to give myself, my younger self, some advice, and that would definitely be the difference between an asset and a liability. Now, if we were to buy a car, is a car an asset or a liability? The reality is that it's a liability. Why? Because you're paying the monthly car repayment. You're putting fuel in it, car, maintenance, tires, etc., etc. It is a liability. Now, what happens if you're an Uber driver? Is the car then an asset or a liability? Well, it's then become an asset because it's earning you money. Pretty straightforward. Now, this is where the topic gets pretty interesting. Now, let's use the same analogy for a house. Is a house an asset or a liability? Well, the reality is it's actually both, and the reason for that is because if you're living in your house and it's the primary house of residence, you're paying the monthly mortgage repayment, you're paying the water, council rates, land rates, so therefore it is a liability. And yes, it's an asset because it's going up in value, but the reality is that because it's costing you money, it is a liability. So the purpose of rent vesting is to be able to eliminate your expenses. If you can eliminate the expenses and increase your servicing and your borrowing capacity, then you're in a far better financial position. Now let me give you an example. Let's say we moved out of the primary house of residence and we put a tenant in there. So it's the same analogy as the Uber driver. We've got a car that's costing you money, you become an Uber driver, it becomes an asset. Same thing with the house. If you remove yourself from the house and you put a tenant in there, it then becomes an asset because it's now earning you income. So when you go to the bank and you now have minimal expenses, you've now increased your servicing, it's increased your borrowing capacity, so therefore it allows you to go out there and purchase an additional investment property. Now, if that investment property is obviously, here's the key, if that is also earning you an income, a passive income, then let's say it's $50 or $100 a week. That $50 a week that investment property is earning you is now giving you a rent reduction. Because yes, you've had to go and rent, so you've increased your liabilities. But if the passive income that you get from your investment property is now paying you an income and you've been able to give yourself a rent reduction, the reality is that you've decreased your expenses. Some of the most successful people that I know have never earned a primary house of residence. There's one bloke I know, he owns 14 properties, he's never owned a primary house of residence in his life, but he lives in a rental property overlooking Bondi and he pays no rent. Why? Because the passive income that he earns from his investment properties, he's earning about $150,000 a year just in passive income from his investment. So therefore he is a rent-vestor. He's a very successful rent-vestor. So the reality is that when people hear the word rent or rent vesting, they think that you have to be a tenant and therefore that is all that you are. But the reality is that there is nothing wrong with being a tenant, especially in today's marketplace. As we've spoken in the past, you've got to be able to sort of look further afield. You've got to hustle, you've got to make it work. How do you decrease your expenses? How do you increase your assets? How do you decrease your liabilities, which enables you to be a successful investor? That's it from me. Enjoy the day. I'm going to go finish off my workout. Enjoy the week and have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.